All right. I'm at Micah. This is what Micah looks like. This is the inside of my office. I came down here for the superior internet connection and quiet that I can't get at home. And boy, I have to tell you, this place is deserted. It's really eerie because not only is the campus deserted, the city is quiet. You know, at least Mount Royal Avenue is usually hopping, and there's like nobody around. It's very strange. So I hope you guys will please do the that survey I showed you about the midterm report on these classes, and I wondered if maybe I could ask how it's going. How's your experience with the miracle that is online learning? Anybody want to share? This is your moment.
Absolutely dreadful.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Why? Why is this so dreadful?
Um, just a lot going on. It's really hard to discipline yourself when you're in your house all the time.
Mm,
It's really hard to learn in classes when you're not bouncing ideas off your peers.
mm.
Um, it just feels, I mean, it's very isolated learning, obviously, but it is very isolating.
Yeah. Word. Alina says, I really don't hate it. Okay.
I've been fine because I keep realizing that like during like especially in terms of studio stuff,
Yeah.
during my senior year, I basically had the same setup that I do now, where I was just in like a room by myself because when I was in like the classroom with the rest of the class, I was too distracted. So when I was put in a room on my own and just like put in there and it was like you have time now to work, I was able to get stuff done really well. So I've been doing well and it's saving my parents a lot of money. So I feel like it's not a bad option for me. I've been working well with it. And it forces me to like put all the responsibility on myself because like if I'm not doing well in the class, then it's way more on me than it is on the professors
Mm.
because it's up to me to show up to class and actually be able to perceive everything. And it's just like, I don't know. I've been able to figure out ways to make it work for myself and I actually kind of like it. I don't know if I'm going to get like crucified for saying that, but I don't hate it at all.
You are. Here it comes. Come on. Anybody else? No, I'm just joking. I don't know if you'll be crucified. I wash my hands of it. Anybody else? Your experience online? Love it? Hate it?
Well, I think one of the only kind of things that I like is just being at home. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I can just go to class like a minute after I wake up and like drag myself to the computer. Like I don't know. It's
Yeah.
convenient.
Well, you should be tired. I mean, it's midterm. God, you should see this place at midterms and finals. It's like walking zombies. That's the norm. Nobody sleeps. Everybody's smoking. That's just the way it is, everybody. So you should be stressed. I wonder, let's see here. Felix wants to get out. Felix, I have to tell you this later, Felix. One of my favorite students I had was from West Virginia many years ago. Went on to do great things. He was from Charlestown. Kendall, managing to do, oh, Mackenzie wants to be on campus. I know, Mackenzie. You want your dorm room, I remember. Micah dorms are pretty sweet, I ain't gonna lie. There's a lot, well, what am I saying? Like, compared to what I knew, I had a hellhole of a dorm room, so maybe they're not all that, but they look nice. Kendall, managing to do classes that require being a student, shooting photos on location is stressful. Yep. Yeah. I can't imagine what the studio classes are like, like I just, that it must be so difficult. I really feel for you all and for my colleagues who are trying to manage this. Hopefully there will be news soon about the spring semester. And I know that, every college is trying very hard to figure out how to return. So, how about this? What about, I was already trying to imagine life. I came back to Micah and I was trying to imagine life post-COVID. What do you think about all this might be worth keeping? Do you have any advice for me?
I feel like this is just a general thing, but I feel like there's a lot of kids who really struggle to pay for college. And I think that having the door open to remote stuff is really good because there's some kids who can't afford to travel all the way to Maryland and live there and all the expenses of living there. So them being able to stay home but still get the same education would work really well.
All right. Thanks. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? What about this experience you think is worth hanging on to and continuing? What has pedagogical value? How about that?
The lack of paper is no, but the lack of like paper that you would use for like handouts and stuff is nice.
The lack of paper, yeah. Yeah, I know. Wearing sweatpants. Well, I mean, I meant pedagogical tips, but I mean, I have to say I'm a little bit with Alina. Like at first I was dreading this thing and I'm still not a fan. I much prefer seeing you all in person around the table. Like Anne was saying earlier, I think the real value of what we do is in the classroom is bouncing ideas off one another. And I just have a hard time managing that on Zoom for a variety of reasons. I'm not a big believer in this medium. I mean, it's okay. I guess that's the best I can say, But I mean, look, like Alina, well, actually, I think Ash said this too. Like I roll out of bed, comb my hair, click on the computer, boom, right? I don't have any commutes anymore. I don't drive to work. I don't I can wear the same clothes every day, save laundry.
I feel like there's also the side of it of like I was talking about this a couple weeks ago, but snow days basically don't exist anymore and sick days don't really exist anymore.
Oh,
Because you can't just like take the day off and be like, I can't make it to school, thus I will not learn. They'll be like, nope, Zoom.
I know.
So that's an up and a downside, but
I was afraid of that. Oh,
Just internet outages and like Wi-Fi and problems. It's just the snow days now.
that's true.
This is one of the, so we have to hope that a blizzard will blow out the internet. Then we'll all be able to stay home. By the way, for those of you who don't know, snow days are a big thing in Baltimore. We don't like snow. You get 3 inches, you're out. But I guess you're all going to miss this now. It's funny. Max says he feels left comfortable speaking on Zoom, which is good to know. Interestingly, I've also heard the opposite. Some people like speaking on Zoom. I don't know.
I feel like it's good for like introverts. Introverts generally, I feel like the Zoom classes more because you can like, there have been some days where like my anxiety is running a little high, so I can just leave the camera off and mute it and I'm paying attention, but I don't have to worry about the anxiety of like everyone seeing me and having to interact with people. So that does help.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. At first, I was really, really upset that people's cameras could be off. Now I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on in your house, whatever. Nayana mentions a time difference. That is a real challenge. I know. And that's so hard because Micah has a huge international student population, I do believe there may be some tinkering with class times in the spring, if portions are online. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be pressing you for this again because mostly it's, selfish. I want to know, what aspects of this experience I can and should use going forward. I'm not crazy about the idea that Alina says that, sick days are gone and snow days. And I had that same fear. One of the things I dislike about digital technology is that you're always on and that you're always available. And I don't like that, right? It's one of the paradoxes of digital technology that they're supposed to give us more time, right? They're supposed to make things more efficient, give us more time, and yet more time to be on and more time to be available and more time to work, things like that. It's interesting to note that like the average work week in the last 20 years has actually gone up thanks to digital technology, not despite it. Oh, I think the boat has sailed on the fall break, I'm sorry to say. But I told you to go find that orchard and go find some orchard time. It has been an all-around disaster, scheduling and changing schedules. So I hope to never revisit 2020 again. Of course, as always, pandemics like this, they reveal weak points that you maybe were able to cover over earlier, right? Weak points you didn't have to reckon with. So, if anything, there can be a lot of good that comes from this and shows, what the college and what every institution needs to learn and needs to do better going forward. So hopefully, that's my way of saying hopefully we can be better for this. Any case, I fully recognize this is a really challenging semester, and I fully recognize it's a really exceptional semester. So I cannot urge you enough to please be in touch if you need anything from me. If you need any help, you need to talk about anything about work or college life, whatever, just feel free to please reach out. I'm happy to talk or listen and help in whatever way I can with your work in this class, okay? Cool. All righty. So back to class. I want to talk about Robin Wall Kimmerer's book. We were not done. There were a couple of very important points I wanted to raise, wanted to hash out with y'all. So if you would please make sure you have that text handy. It's on Canvas, so you see, there you go. Digital technology gives you no excuse. If you're in the classroom, you could say, oh, I forgot my book. But see, now you can't forget it. Thanks to Canvas, I make sure you have it. So please have the Kimmerer book available, and then we'll chat for a little bit after that about your the text that you read for today and some related issues to that. I want to take a look in particular at Kimmerer's essay called The Honorable Harvest. I think this was my favorite. I really like it. She opens up this essay, asks a very important question. She says, how do we consume in a way that does justice to the lives we take? How do we consume in a way that does justice to the lives we take? Because so much consumption, not all, but so much consumption takes lives. I think Kimmerer's point is even if you're vegetarian, you're taking a life. So how do we do justice to the lives we take? And so this leads to a very interesting discussion about consumption. And I really liked, I think one of the examples that really sticks out the most that she gives, it's the story of oh my God, cursor. Why is my cursor not working? Native Americans harvesting wild rice. I love that example. Wild rice. Who's had wild rice? Oh my God, I don't see any hands. You guys know what wild rice is?
No.
My mother used to make me eat it. I'm not a fan. My parents went through a period where they were pretty, as we would say, crunchy. They adopted a very healthy diet, and wild rice is actually not rice at all. But it's called wild rice because of the way that it looks. And I'm guessing white people saw it and said, this is rice, or let's just call this wild rice. Wild rice grows in the lakes of like the upper Midwest in Canada. And you harvest it by canoeing into the reeds, basically, into these plants, and then you shake them into your boat. And there you have your dinner. And I wonder if anybody remembers her story of the Native Americans harvesting wild rice. They did something that kind of upset the white people looking on. Anybody remember what they did, how they harvested that kind of caught people's attention? It was a general mantra for how Native Americans harvest, period. So we can talk about that instead if you'd like. What'd you say about how Native Americans harvest?
I think like they harvest what they need and not like in excess.
Good. Can anybody find the example of the wild rice? Find a page number. We can take a look at that example itself. You're totally right, Ash. But I think this example is great because it gives us details of what this looks like. Anybody find it?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of PDFs for this, so it was a bit confusing to find. But
Oh,
it's
I'm sorry. It's the honorable harvest. Is
yeah,
anybody else
it's on page 181 of the Honorable Harvest. So if you're on the PDF, that's page 7 out of 28.
Thanks, Elva. I appreciate it a lot. Right. In the middle of that page, she says that settlers in the Great Lakes wrote in their journals about the extraordinary abundance of wild rice harvested by native peoples. In just a few days, they could fill their canoes with enough rice to last a year. But the settlers were puzzled by the fact that, as one of them wrote, the savages stopped gathering long before all the rice was harvested. She observes that the rice harvest starts with the ceremony of Thanksgiving and prayers for good weather for the next 4 days. They'll harvest till dawn till dusk for the prescribed 4 days and then stop, leaving much rice to stand unreaped. This rice, they say, is not for them, but for the thunders. Nothing will compel them to continue. Therefore, much goes to waste. The settlers took this as certain evidence of laziness and lack of industry on the part of the heathens. They did not understand how indigenous land care practices might contribute to the wealth they encountered. Why were the Native Americans not harvesting everything? Why were they leaving so much behind?
Because they didn't need every grain of wild rice, and they wanted to make sure that they could leave some stuff behind to grow back.
They didn't need it. They wanted to leave it to grow back. Good. Anything else? Any guesses on who or what else likes wild rice?
Wildlife, like animals and such. They want to leave out for like other living beings, not
Fish,
just
fish, ducks. Yeah, that's right. So this is what she means. This has how it fits into their land care practices, right? And her point is that contemporary, agriculture, industrial agriculture, works a totally different way, right? It is premised on taking everything and using everything, using it all up, not leaving anything behind, right? I was just up in the country the other day and the corn is coming down and every stalk is gone, right? The fields are shaved. You don't see any left behind by farmers for the ducks or the groundhogs. They will shoot the groundhogs if they come near their corn, right? On the next page, if you have your text there, she has the guidelines for the honorable harvest. Just want to go over these. She said these are that little that passage in italics. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you may take care of them. Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life. Ask permission before taking. Abide by the answer. Never take the first. Never take the last. Take only what you need. Take only that which is given. Never take more than half. Leave some for others. Harvest in a way that minimizes harm. Use it respectfully. Never waste what you've taken. Share. Give thanks for what you've been given. Give a gift in reciprocity for what you have taken. Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever. And, looking this over, maybe you should print this out and take this with you to Walmart next time you go and see the many ways that we are, sinning against these guidelines, right? This goes against so much of American consumer society, and not just the American brand, but consumer society as such. As I was pointing out last week, American consumer society is infectious. People around the world are happy to emulate it and imitate it. We take more than we need. We, talk about minimizing harm in our harvest. We haven't really talked about this at all, but are you guys familiar with industrial, well, what's the word? In English, they're called CAFOs, or I should say in English, that's the term, concentrated animal farming operations, right? Factory farms for animals. Do you guys know like how industrial chicken is raised? You guys ever seen any examples of this or read about it at all?
They're like packed in like sardines,
They are.
and they're treated terribly. Like a bunch of them just kind of live in chicken shit.
Holy chicken, is that a movie, Felix? I don't know that. Or a documentary? That's a great name. They are kept in a very crowded space. Why is that? Why are they kept so crowded?
They don't care about the product, or they don't care about the well-being of the animal. They just care about the product.
Okay.
like there's a limited amount of space, so you have to like use as much ground as possible.
Limited amount of space.
As much.
America is big. There's a lot of space out there. That's not the reason. That's not the reason. What kind of chicken does KFC want? What do they want it to look like, y'all? The perfect chicken. Okay, Naima. But what does the perfect chicken look like? Fat. And how do you get chicken fat? Come on, everybody.
Feed
How
it.
do you, how do you get chicken fat?
You feed it a lot,
Well, yes.
right? Or
And
you
then
inject it with like some weird, I don't know what that stuff is called.
hormones,
Yes.
but it also helps that they're in tight spaces. You know what I mean? Because if they're
Don't
in,
move.
they don't move. That's the reason that they're held in these pens. They do not move, right? If you ever find yourself in a grocery store and you want to do a little bit of research, I often like to do research in a grocery store. Go get your conventional chicken breasts and go get your organic chicken breasts. Better yet, get free range. Because you know what free range is doing? Exercising. So that's going to be, that chicken's going to be like lean. But the Purdue chicken, that's fat. And it's fat because they're sedentary, right? And yes, they are fed hormones. There are problems, everybody, with keeping these animals in such close quarters. You guys know what they are. By the way, what do I mean by close quarters? I mean 10,000 chickens to a barn. That's the norm for Purdue. That's a lot. Doesn't smell good. This is a very important topic right here, everybody. Why? Because Maryland is a capital of chicken farming. Not Baltimore necessarily, but the Eastern Shore. The Eastern Shore is if you go across the Chesapeake Bay between Baltimore and Delaware and Ocean City. This is prime, that triangle is prime chicken growing region. And why is that? Because geographically, it's a good location, right? Close to the various big cities. And it's also flat. But there are a lot of problems with it too. And what I was going to say, if you head over there on your way to the beach, the Delaware beach or the Maryland beach, you will see these barns there. Usually these chicken farms, they have like 5 or 6 of these barns. They're really, really long. They have 10,000 hens in them. They have a big fan at either side because one is blowing in there and the other is blowing it out. And if you're on the other side where the air is blowing out, God help you. It stinks. Yeah, Ash, there you go. On the way to Rehoboth. Don't pull over. What are the problems keeping all these chickens in such close quarters, everybody?
Diseases.
Why?
Why diseases are bad? Or
Why are diseases a problem?
because they can affect the meat that they produce, also make the chicken sick and die.
Right. They're not quarantining them. Right. Infection is a serious problem from animals kept in such close quarters. So what do? What do the industrial operations do to keep these chickens from killing one another? I mean, with their diseases, that is. How do they keep these chickens from infecting one another? Anybody know?
I would guess they separate all of them into different, like, closed spaces.
I know, Elva. That's what they
But
They don't. They
yeah,
don't. That costs too much dinero. Your $1.50 chicken sandwich cannot afford that. No, you're going to give them antibiotics, everybody. How often? All the time. The water that they are fed in these chicken farms has antibiotics in them from the day they are born till the day they die. 75% of all antibiotics in America, 75% go to farm animals. And that is a problem from a public health standpoint. Again, another Baltimore-centric issue. Johns Hopkins School of Public Health is based here. Do you guys know what happens? I mean, so let me put it this way. 75% of antibiotics are given to chickens. 25% are given to humans. Doctors, you can ask your parents about this when you were a kid. Doctors are not too keen on giving people too many antibiotics. Does anybody know why? There is a danger with giving out too many antibiotics. Does anybody know what it is?
we build resistance to it. We build resistance to antibiotics over time.
Good. To be
Yeah.
very specific, Ava, you know, the public health officials and medical professionals, they're worried that, you know, when antibiotics are pervasive, this will encourage the development of resistant strains of bacteria who are resistant to treatment. And it will make our antibiotics irrelevant. So when it comes to human consumption, doctors are very concerned. They don't want to give it too much. Okay? Okay, except that we are giving it all to our animals all the time. Okay? What does this mean? From a public health standpoint, this is a friggin' disaster. This suggests we're basically daring bacteria to evolve and become superbugs. Exactly, Alva. So a lot of public health people are very upset, and there's a lot of pressure in this country to try and change the industrial agricultural industry, I should say, the farming industry, from using less antibiotics. But if they did that, then your chicken sandwich is going to be more expensive. No more $1.50. How much does a chicken sandwich cost at KFC? I don't even know. I know there's a chicken sandwich on the McDonald's dollar menu. I know that. See, why are less than $5 probs? You're in New York. I think you're probably talking New York prices, Naima. So anyway, in Baltimore, it's $3 tops. All right. So here's the deal. Oh, I forgot something. Do you think chicken growers, that's what they call the farmers down here who raise chickens, they call them chicken growers. That's funny. Do you think chicken growers would like to have their chickens mature quickly?
Yes.
Why?
Faster production.
Fast production. Anybody else want to expand? Or you can give me some more details, Kendall. I mean, you're going to raise them to, you know, the growers would love to get the chickens mature quickly and then sell them off. And then what are they going to do, those chicken growers? Hello? What are you going to do? Your barn's empty. No? Can't get people in the mindset of a chicken grower? No? James, help me out here. Come on. What's the chicken?
Like just restock.
Restock. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. Yes, restock. So, I mean, Kendall's absolutely right. Like, you don't want a chicken that's going to take its fucking time, right? You need this chicken, go to market, bang, fill up your shed with another, cram it full of chickens, give them antibiotics so they don't infect each other. By the way, there's something else chickens do in their close quarters, everybody. Anybody know what it is? Not good to keep chickens in close quarters. What do? No?
Kill each other?
Close. They fight. So you will snip their beaks. They will snip the beaks of the chickens very young. So you know, you want these chickens to get big fast. How do you get those chickens to be big fast? Well, you will use growth hormones, okay? Now, the United States is actually kind of exceptional in its use of growth hormones. They don't use hormones in Europe, but they do here. And that is to get those chickens to grow quickly. So when you go to KFC and when you go to the store and buy a Purdue chicken, does anybody want to guess how old that chicken is?
Most likely a few months.
Most likely a few months.
I was gonna say like a few weeks.
4 to 6 weeks. If you have chickens, Kendall, that are not on hormones, yes, they would be 6 months at least. but thanks to growth hormones, they produce them to be full market weight and bigger in 4 to 6 weeks. Let's see here. Felix was talking up above. Oh no. God damn, there's another documentary. Michael Pollan's involved in it actually, which is really good. Yeah, you should pay for expensive chicken. More on that in a second. I have chickens, so I know what they're supposed to look like at 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And I can tell you, like, I was holding my chicken. My 4-week-old chicken is like this big, you know, it's like, it's crazy. That's not, how do they get that chicken to be so huge in 4 to 6 weeks? So I'm blanking on the name of this documentary that involves Michael Pollan. I will look at Holy Chicken though. But Michael Pollan points out that, you know, so only 30 years ago, you bought a chicken in the store. It was probably a 4 to 6 month old chicken, still young, but it took a while to get old. And nowadays they are 4 to 6 weeks and they put on that weight immensely. And by the way, the chickens today are fatter than they were then. So there are health issues, and I don't mean health for us. I mean health for the chicken. What can you imagine growing, ballooning up in 4 to 6 weeks? What health problems do you imagine for these chickens?
Like can't walk.
They cannot walk. That is accurate. Their legs cannot hold up their bodies. I've heard that, by the way, the turkeys are the same way. Their breasts, they're bred to have giant breasts, and so they can't walk either. They can't breed either. Turkeys have to be bred artificially. Where are we going with all this, everybody? This is crazy. Well, this is where I want to go. Look at all that we're doing. We're cramming these chickens in. We're cramming these chickens in. Man, Naima, free-range turkey is good. I'm not a turkey fan either, but I had a free-range turkey for Thanksgiving. Let me tell you, it was delicious, but it was not recognizable is the point. Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's something else that Purdue likes to do. This is rough, everybody. Hope you're ready for this one. They put arsenic in the feed of the chickens. Anybody know why? Your chemistry teacher could tell you this. Anybody know why they put arsenic? It makes the flesh white with a pinkish hue. And that's what people want. That's what consumers expect to see. So I bought a free-range turkey last year and the year before every year. It's almost, the whole thing is like, it's darker. It's darker. Like when you go to the store and you buy turkey at the deli, it's like pale. And people think, oh, this is what turkey looks like. No, that's not what turkey looks like. Turkey doesn't look like that at all, actually. This is back to the Michael Pollan issue that we have this idea of a model thing, a model fruit or a model chicken or a model turkey. No, that's not at all what it looks like. But let me go to this issue here. So, you know, Purdue is busy making these, they're packing in these chickens into these giant barns, giving them hormones, and they are feeding them nonstop. They don't see daylight, by the way. Oh, and by the way, I'm talking about the broilers, which is the meat chicken. If these are laying hens, they leave the lights on all day. Oh, they do this in general. Sorry, they leave the lights on for the broilers as well because they want them to eat all day. Laying hens, they want them to lay all day as well. So there's a lot of stress. And all of this is to produce cheap meat. What would the price be if we were not doing all this, right? I don't know. This may not work with everybody since we're all in different geographies here, but you know, $8 for a chicken sandwich. Will there be rebellion in the streets? Will there be like people throwing down? Like, no way. I ain't putting up with an $8 chicken sandwich. No, I don't know what you're saying no to an $8 chicken, or Naima?
I feel like if everyone's already, hold up, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel like if everyone's paying $8 for a chicken sandwich and it's all everyone's, what am I trying to say? Everybody's selling it $8, then it isn't gonna matter. Everybody's just gonna fork up the $8 to pay for the sandwich.
You think it might be a good thing?
Yes.
There could be some positive benefits, everybody, right? Like what? Well, I already established that the animals are treated a little more humanely. Any benefit for us consuming higher quality product?
Lowering the rate of obesity.
Right. Right. It's not a great thing that you can get this cheap food for $1, right? We treat it like it's a great thing, but it's not a great thing, right? If you're paying $8 or more, and again, I feel like I should be inflating my prices for the New Yorkers in the room, maybe $12, you know, like Americans in the hinterlands, they would have an absolute fit, you know, a fit. But maybe would this make us, you know, more careful about what we buy, more thoughtful about what we're cramming down our gullets, right? No arsenic in my food. Yeah, I'm all for that. Seriously. By the way, chicken farming, you know, the chicken lobby in Maryland, and there is such thing as the chicken lobby, is very powerful. Why? Because they employ a lot of people on the Eastern Shore. Real political hot point though, because they do employ a lot of Latin Americans, Latinos, and a lot of them, their immigration status is unclear or in jeopardy. And so, you know, that's been problematic. There are environmental problems as well, right? What are the environmental problems related to this kind of concentrated chicken farming?
At least I know in my state, in Delaware, there's a lot of.
Oh, you're in Delaware.
Yeah, I was
Nice.
trying to, like, in the chat, I was like, my turn. No, but in Delaware, there's a lot of problems with like soil runoff from chicken feces. It I'm trying to remember like the exact process. It builds up, I think, phosphorus in the water, and algae rises to the top and kind of kills everything in the water. So there's water pollution with COVID in my state. It's a question of factories cramming too many people together, which is a tangent, but yeah.
Yeah, good. No, it's the waste, it's the runoff. I mean, see, again, I go back to the issue of, you know, these farms that are practicing polyculture. You only had a couple of chickens, so you don't have to worry about the runoff from a couple of chickens. Hell, you use it as fertilizer. But what do you do when you have 10,000? What do you do when you have the waste from 10,000 chickens? And then what do you do when you have the waste from 10,000 chickens times 5 barns, right? What are you gonna do with that? And chicken farmers in Maryland, they are so pinched. They're actually operate as contractors for Purdue, and Purdue has so pinched them that the farmers are looking how to save money however they can, and invariably this happens in terms of how they dispose of the waste. And the way they dispose of the waste is in such a way that basically, as Ava pointed out, it's the nutrients. So here's the point, everybody: the bay, the Chesapeake Bay, is the principal form of pollution is that it is receiving too many nutrients. It's too many nutrients, and it's causing the grasses to grow, and then that absorbs all the oxygen, and so you have these dead zones in the bay. So you can find this online. There are maps of dead zones in the bay. And by the way, this is the exact thing that's going on in the Gulf of Mexico too. All the runoff from the farms is coming down the Mississippi and creating dead zones. So again, if you mixed it up, if you mitigated the effect of these chickens, that might work, but then you decide to have them in concentrated fashion because that's what produces cheap chicken, right? And then you concentrate them all in the state of Delaware and Maryland, and you have a bigger problem as well. A favorite type of farming that I like to talk about as well, favorite for the wrong reasons, is pig farming. If you thought chicken farming is bad, I have bad news for you. Pig farming is really bad. Do we have anybody from North Carolina in this class? Damn. North Carolina and Iowa, that's where the pig farming is from. I mean, American consumers love their pig too. They love their pork. I believe pork and chicken are the top two meats eaten around the world. And pork is problematic for a variety of reasons that we've already discussed, but there's an added twist. The average pig produces 17 times the amount of waste of the average human per day. I just put that in a very nice way. The brute way is, I hope you're ready for it. Pig shit 17 times more than humans on an average day. So you got yourself a lot of pig shit, okay? Anybody know what they do with all the pig shit? This is where I would love to have a North Carolinian on board. No? Any guesses? Have you read? Have you heard what they do with the pig shit? No? They put them in lagoons. Put it in the chat, lagoons. That's what they call them. They call them lagoons. Not the usual lagoon. Was there something in the Simpsons movie? I don't remember. And these lagoons, if you fly over North Carolina, you see them. There actually was a very interesting art exhibit last year. A photographer had gone down to North Carolina and taken pictures of these. Whatever the chemical reaction is, the pig waste, when it sits in these lagoons and it interacts with the air, it turns purple and pink. And so you fly over these farms and you see the long warehouses with the pigs, and then next to them stand these giant lagoons that are this otherworldly pink. Now, this is toxic shit, okay, everybody? It's sitting there, it's brewing, it is decomposing, it emits gases. Someone mentioned CO2. I think the big issue here is now methane that you get from cattle and you get from pigs. And these pig lagoons have become so toxic that farmers have fallen in and died. They suffocate on the fumes and they drown. There was a story a few years ago where one guy fell in, his brother went in to get him, and then the father went in to get the brother, and they all died. They all just suffocated. Toxic, toxic stuff. In the old days, again, you had one or two pigs. You would take the caca, you would dry it out, you could burn it, or you could spread it on the fields. But what do you do when you have gazillions of liters of this stuff? Well, there was another book by Jonathan Safran Foer a few years ago. He's a vegetarian, a militant one, and he wrote a very detailed book about this, where he said in North Carolina, the pig industry is so powerful, they have gotten it so that they can spray the pig shit out into the fields. And so you get these clouds of fecal particles hovering over the land because they're saying they're fertilizing the soil. But after a while, you're not fertilizing the soil, you are poisoning the soil, right? This is a big problem for the environment in the coast of North Carolina. You have in Maryland and in North Carolina, you have very often have these things which we call fish kills. Very so often, thousands of fish will rise to the surface dead and wash up on the side. And this is because of the sudden influx of sometimes bacteria related to all the manure that's in the water, or the lack of oxygen due to over-fertilization. And of course, in North Carolina, the big problem is they get hurricanes. And the reason the hurricanes are the problem, because then you got flooding. And you know what you don't want flooding? Pig shit lagoons. So the Chesapeake Bay got so much shit. I think Ash meant shit. Yeah, I've grown up around the bay, and it's so sad to think about it, but it really is suffering.
Yeah, I was camping near like the shore area, and I saw like dead fish wash up, and like this kid swimming in the water, and there's like dead fish like floating in the water, and he like picks one up and like throws it on the shore.
Ay, ay, ay. Not good. Well, what's crazy is like, so the story is that when John Smith, who was one of the English explorers, when he sailed up the Chesapeake Bay is one of the great estuaries on Earth. An estuary is brackish water, salty and fresh mixing, where a lot of young species are born and then they migrate. So the Chesapeake Bay is hugely important. By the way, Chesapeake Bay gets a lot of fertilizers from the western shore of Maryland too, because all the suburbanites are using fertilizer to green their grass. You know anybody with a lawn? Tell them not to put anything on the lawn. Better yet, get rid of the lawn. So the Chesapeake Bay is getting it from all sides. When John Smith, the English explorer, sailed up the Chesapeake Bay, his men wrote that they could put their shields in the water and pull it up full of fish. That's how rich it was. And through our ravenous extraction policies, the opposite of what Kimmerer was talking about, we have emptied the bay. The Chesapeake Bay used to be one of the centers of oyster farming in the world, natural oyster production. One of the big industries in Baltimore was canning of oysters. We canned them so effectively that we pushed the population to the brink, and it almost went extinct. And slowly it's coming back again. Crabs, same thing. That's all they care about. And when you get here, you're going to be sick of it. All people in Baltimore care about are crabs. Mackenzie's nodding because she knows. Well, Mackenzie, why don't you tell them where the crabs come from? Anybody know where the crabs come from?
I assume they come from the bay.
They don't.
They don't?
They can't. Only about a third of the crabs in Baltimore come from the bay. Anybody know where they come from? No? Max, you're a local, don't you know? Oh, no more? Oh, sorry, Naima. All right, I'm winding down, I promise. We just poke at Max. Max, you know where our crabs come from? Come on, buddy. They come from the Gulf. They come from Texas and North Carolina. So there was a very interesting article in National Geographic a few years ago about the bay, and was pointing out like how poor the quality of the bay is. And yet you come to Baltimore and what do they sell? Seafood. None of the seafood comes from the bay, right? Your oysters are not from the bay. Your crabs are not from the bay, right? So we have this kind of culture of seafood, but people don't really know how bad it is. And when you drive over the bay or you drive by the bay, it looks great. It's like shining and shimmery, and the water looks blue, and people are like surfing and swimming and stuff. But man is dead. It's actually dead. It's sad. Why was I going on about all this? I guess I was just trying to say, like, you know, this highlights the kind of extractive element of our consumer society, you know, how our consumer society makes it so that we can live with a lie, right? We can just get our food from anywhere at the drop of a hat, right? The crabs are delivered from Louisiana in the morning, and we don't have to ask where they're from. I annoy my friends immensely. When we go out for crabs, I always say, where are the crabs from? And they hate me that I ask that, but I want to know, you know, and I can tell the difference. I don't know. I think other locals can as well. What kind of photos, Mackenzie, did you have in mind? You mean photos of, yeah, that's right, Alina. I know it's crazy. It's sad. But that's the degree to which we have, you know, the Native Americans practiced sustainable methods of taking, right? The iconic story, I don't know if you guys know about this, but like the buffalo, right? Native Americans were hunting the buffalo and living off the buffalo. And then the Europeans come along, and by 1890, they had pushed the buffalo to the brink of extinction. Extinction. That's one of the reasons they created Yellowstone Park. So they had a reserve for them. Just imagine that. Another iconic example, I wonder if you guys have heard of this, called the passenger pigeon. Has anybody ever heard of the passenger pigeon?
Yeah.
What do you know about the passenger pigeon?
They were like really plentiful until people just hunted them to like death, and now they're extinct.
They are an extinct. They're one of the American species that are extinct, and they went extinct around the early 1900s. Anybody know anything else about the passenger pigeon? They were so plentiful that the early colonists write that flocks of passenger pigeon would take an entire day to fly over your city. Just imagine that. You wake up in the morning, it's cloudy. You're like, oh, it looks like it's cloudy. Oh no, it's pigeons. And then 5 o'clock, you're like, oh, it's still cloudy. You look up, oh, it's still pigeons. Right? That's how many passenger pigeons there were. And in 2 generations, the settlers eradicated them all. And I guess it's important to ask ourselves, to what extent have we have we removed ourselves from that kind of harvesting, you know? It is crazy how ravenous we are, you know? I read of fishing trawlers, for example, that, and by a trawler, I mean, this is a common method of extraction for fish. They basically drag nets along the seabed and they collect everything in their wake. And then they pull it on board, depending what they're fishing for, they'll throw the rest off dead, right? So, you know, our consumer society is a problem. It really is. It's a real problem. And we need to think of ways that we can consume less and that we can eat less, you know, that we can be less greedy. It's really quite remarkable. I've been kind of babbling. So does anybody have any questions or comments? I see the chat's going, so that's good. Anybody have any questions? Anybody about to become a vegetarian now?
I'm not far from it anyway, so like I feel like obviously like if it's ethically sourced, I literally just like while we were talking about it texting my boyfriend, I was like, I might go mostly vegetarian. Like if it's a place where like I know that the meat is like ethically sourced or something like that, then I'd be fine with eating it. But like I might straight up just be like, no more meat in this house. I don't know.
We could eat a lot less. Americans consume a lot of meat. We certainly don't need to. I think there's plenty of room in our budget and there's plenty of room in our diet to eat meat, $8 burgers once a day, 1 piece of meat a day, for sure. I don't understand your point, Elite, and then we just control alt delete like humans. Well,
We just like restart.
well, I eat meat, but I'm very appreciative of what Kimmerer says. Like I try to think about, you know, where my meat comes from. And I think, you know, we have to be thoughtful, sensitive consumers. You know, there's plenty of other places to get our protein from. That's for sure, right? People, by the way, I mean, what do you think most people's obstacle is to going vegetarian?
Accessibility and prices.
What do you mean? Oh, accessibility in what way? I get the prices one. What do you
Like
mean?
some people just don't know that there's other sources of protein other than meat. Like there's like beans and like a whole bunch of other stuff, and you can't really like people like obviously like people don't really understand that unless you look for it or someone tells you like, hey, you can survive without eating meat. You can eat other things for protein.
Mm. Anybody else? Other?
Meat is generally it's like relatively affordable.
Mhm.
If you compare it to stuff like if you had to eat like a daily amount of calories in meat compared to vegetables, you have to buy a lot more vegetables, and fresh produce are generally also more expensive.
Yeah. And again, I pointed out that, when you buy a fast food, it's subsidized. So you don't see the real cost of that. You don't see the real price, right? That price is adjusted for your benefit. Our government is encouraging this kind of production and this kind of consumption. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. What would the real price be if the subsidies were taken away? Well, that would change McDonald's business model pretty quickly. Could we live, sometimes criticism is given that vegetarianism is elitist, that it is, that it's expensive. How would you do it cheaply?
Isn't it like already a thing in some communities, especially like lower income communities where they've adapted to having gardens for fresh produce to make it so that it's more accessible?
Mhm. Good. But if you don't have land, then that's an issue. This did come up last week, like that you need land. Did I tell you I had a student a few years ago who was growing vegetables in window boxes, like these little boxes outside his window? He was growing his own salad and selling it to restaurants in Baltimore. That guy was unbelievable. Now he runs a big community garden in Baltimore. How else can you get cheap protein? Because people think you need meat for the cheap protein. So where can you get your cheap protein from, everybody?
Lentils,
Tofu,
baby.
Beans.
tofu, or making your own tofu, making your own seitan, any meat alternative from scratch.
You make your own?
Yes, I do.
God damn, that's hard. I was gonna cheat and just say buy beans. But more power to you. That's awesome too. But if you're not quite there, by the way, if you want to learn how to make seitan, talk to Anne apparently. But if you want to cheat like me, buy beans. Guess what, everybody? Beans are cheap. Beans are cheap, and they store easily, right? So beans are a great tip. I love lentils. My kids love lentils. There are ways. Mushrooms, only a couple mushrooms have some nutrients, but most mushrooms do not, unfortunately. And mushrooms are very expensive increasingly, I've noticed. But by the way, foraging is increasingly a big thing. I think we did talk about in this class, but people don't know about foraging. People don't know what to look for. That's something you have to get used to. It's something you have to learn, And again, these are the obstacles that Alina was talking about. Like, again, there's a very big cultural element here. Why are we plugged into this consumer society? We are plugged in because, we think that this is how we have to eat. I got into when I was a college kid and I was all self-righteous. I got into an argument with my cousin about going vegetarian, and she's like, she was not going to go vegetarian. She said, my kids, they need their protein and they like to eat meat. That's the best way for me to get them the protein. And, a lot of people think that way. A lot of parents do. I think time is an issue. People are rushed. People are rushed like crazy, right? So it's wrapped into our culture, why we eat and live this way. And then all the excuses that we deal with, that we live with along the way. That's a real problem. Cool. I'm going to switch topics. We don't have much time. I want to talk about, let me get a cap here. Zoos. Talk about we have a zoo in Baltimore. If you were here, the zoo is right around the corner. It's up in, oh Lord. Oh no, Alina, you're not excited? It's all right. I'll make it work. I can pull this off. There's a zoo in Baltimore, Druid Hill Park, right across the street, not far, half a mile. If you were here, you could go up there and visit that. Who's been to zoos? Just a couple. Any fans of zoos? Anybody have a favorite? No? I thought Naima was going to say Bronx Zoo. I've never been there.
I like the Philadelphia Zoo. That one's kind of cool.
I've never been in it. That sits right there near the train.
Yes, it is.
The DC Zoo is lovely. I love the Washington Zoo. I'm going to talk about zoos. I know they make you sad, Alina. I'm going to talk about these because one of your readings was about zoos, the little story Zoo Going by Lydia Millett. And I'm going to share my screen here, everybody. Just so happened this morning, I got up, I was reading the New York Times, and I come across this article, the best live animal feeds from around the world. Research shows that watching footage of them can make you happier. So here's a list of round-the-clock camera footage that will bring koalas, penguins, and puppies straight to your screen. Okay? You guys ready for this? Here we go. Bang. This is the live screen Washington Zoo. That's a naked mole rat. God, you can't even see him. Let me do the second camera. Boring. See, that's the problem with these live cameras. Like, you don't know if you're going to see them. Those guys, there he is. See, he's naked. Naked mole rat. See, and they found that, and why do they have this article? Because during COVID, people are depressed and watching animals. And by the way, the zoos are closed. Here's another live feed. You can watch kittens when you're down in the dumps. I know, everybody likes watching kittens. Baboons. This is from the San Diego Zoo. Look at them all. Where are they going? That's their commute. This is the Monterey. Oh gosh, I guess I lost it now. The Monterey Aquarium is the most famous aquarium in the United States, I believe, out on the West Coast. You can watch jellyfish swim by. This one's cool. This is the Panda Cam at the Washington Zoo. And what's he doing? Is he doing anything? Yeah, he's sleeping, I guess. But he has a cub. She has a cub. And I was watching earlier, and the cub was like falling all over the place, and she was picking him up. Yeah, I guess that's it. But if you go back here, this is the article, everybody. If you're interested, it's on the New York Times, the best live animal feeds from around the world. And there's a bunch of them, like, because all of the zoos now are, you know, online. They have to be. But it starts out by talking about how people just like to see animals, you know. So I wonder if anybody has any thoughts about that. Why do people like to see animals so much? What's the deal? You like to watch kittens in your free time?
I was gonna say because they're cute, so people generally like that.
They're cute.
They're innocent.
They're not killers. They're innocent. You guys find it therapeutic to watch animals? Not chickens, though, right? We
No,
don't.
what?
We
I
don't.
like,
Huh?
my friend sends me pictures of our chickens all the time. It's great.
Well, what I was going to say is there's no live camera feed in the Purdue warehouse, right? Chickens pecking at each other. We only want rated PG scenes of chickens running around. Well, I got to ask you all. I mean, I get it that animals are therapeutic. I don't have pets. My kids are allergic. I have some chickens, but I don't have cats or dogs. But animals are therapeutic. What's up with the naked mole rats, huh? Why do people want to watch naked mole rats? Any thoughts? They're also cute. Ava, I don't know about this. Some animals don't make it though, right? In the animal feeds. There will never be a live camera feed of what?
I was gonna say like lions or tigers or something, but I don't know. But
Oh no, they're big. They're big features. Alligators. Which camera feed do you think people just don't want to watch?
Insects? I don't know.
Insects. This ties in. Oh, by the way, if you love insects, okay, here's the deal. When you get to Baltimore, you got to go down to Washington because the Smithsonian is free, right? And the Smithsonian are all the museums that are around the mall near the White House. And the Natural History Museum has an insect zoo, which is the bomb. Love the insect zoo. I always take my kids there and they run out because they're terrified. Got to get yourself to the insect zoo. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are some animals that people like and there's some animals that they don't like. There are animals that people care for and there are animals that people don't care for. That was the theme of one of your stories by T. Gorgesson Boyle, you know, about these old guys, these old conservationists. They decide to release birds into America. Which ones? These are the ones that Shakespeare mentions in his plays, right? But screw all the others. Conservation invariably has a human bias, right? There are certain species that we care more about and we want them to save and we ignore others. But back to zoos themselves, let's see here. I mean, Alina mentions that zoos, she's worried about zoos, she's upset about zoos. And, you know, that story I had you all read called Zoo Going, which was sort of about a guy who likes to drop into zoos in the middle of the night, a little bit of a strange habit. You know, I think it definitely questions or problematizes the purpose of these things. So what the hell is the purpose? What's the purpose of a zoo?
I guess for audience purposes to get like money and stuff like that, they want you to see animals. Like they want people to, I don't know, people want to see animals.
It's a business and it's an attraction. Okay.
Though I guess I think Reese more modern way. I'm pretty sure a lot of zoos do help in conservation stuff. Like I think like there's like the way of like, you know, just keeping animals that just can't be introduced back into the wild. Like they don't take animals off the wild. It's mostly just animals that were already not able to.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I feel like a lot of zoos put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths for obvious reasons of harsh behavior towards the animals. But when I lived in Montreal, I went to this zoo. It's not really a zoo, but it's called the Biodome there. And it's actually held in the old Olympic Stadium that they had in the 70s or 80s. And they basically made it in this way where the animals aren't in cages. They changed every room into like their climate. And it's so well done. And also the research and they also have a taxidermy part of natural resources and all that stuff. So I think like their purpose there, I can only speak for this zoo, is to just, you know, preserve the animal as well as do research. And obviously they can't let those animals back in the wild. So, I mean, there are some zoos, but I know that the Biodome in Montreal is like the best example of a good zoo.
Good. Thank you, Anne. That's wonderful. I was there a few years ago and I forgot to go into the Biodome.
It's so pretty, but it's also like very outdated.
So here's a question I put in the chat. Do zoos help with conservation? I mean, maybe there are problems with it, but maybe they help. Diana points out, we can at least keep endangered animals there. How else do they help, if they help? I mean, think about it. When did you go? You probably went on a field trip, right? Kids are the ones going to zoos. Why? To show them the wild, Alina says.
Is it because kids are more excited about stuff like that?
They are, but this is also considered to be an educational element, right? Do zoos help them appreciate animals? Do zoos help them appreciate nature? What do you think?
I mean, I would assume that they're, I mean, thinking of kids going to the zoo, like when I was younger, I feel like they're too young to like really register like and appreciate it. But maybe it's killing two birds with one stone, entertaining them as well as like having their knowledge, like at least like knowing what an elephant is, like they have that basic knowledge, I guess.
Good. Anybody else? How about the cons? Some of you have mentioned cons. What are the cons? Animal abuse? How so? What is the abuse exactly?
I mean, there's many different zoos that show different types of abuse, whether it be small cages or staff treating animals wrong to kids banging on windows, disrupting them. There's so much. Also, the money hungry part of zoos that someone was speaking about earlier, it really just distracts them from morals and basic kindness.
Good. Yeah, Felix points out it closed spaces, makes the animals restless and anxious. Yes. And you have cases where animals have acted out in anger because of their frustration, or worse. So this has given rise to a lively debate about whether zoos are necessary anymore. Maybe we shouldn't have zoos anymore. Any thoughts on that? Anybody sad at the prospect of no zoos? Felix is doubling down, everybody. No zoos at all. Anybody sad at the prospect no zoos? Oh no. Oh my God, the no zoo faction is growing.
I don't think zoos are necessary, but I would consider natural science museums necessary in the sense of displaying animals, as a taxidermy and such of, extinct animals from, I've seen animals that were taxidermied from like 1912. They have at least that to show an animal that could have been extinct or.
Good.
Yeah.
And the Smithsonian has a very famous one, by the way. So you got to go. New York City, too, has a beauty. What do you think? Will that do the job of a zoo, everybody? Taxidermy lions and taxidermy peacocks. Naim is for it. Anybody else?
I remember when I was little and we would go to the Natural History Museum, it was the same amount of excitement as going to a zoo. So I don't think any kid that didn't grow up with a zoo going to see a taxidermied animal is going to be a real shame for them, honestly. And it's just, I think it's better for the animals if they get to be in their natural habitat, if they can be, or in some type of conservation, you know? So show the taxidermied animals, but not the real ones.
All right. What do zoos have over natural history museums? Why have we deemed them worthy of existing? Is there something that the zoos have that the museums will not have? Is there
Uh,
something that the zoos will do that the museums won't?
Like seeing live animals, but like same experience as Nemo with the Natural History Museum. Like sometimes the old oceans exhibit, we did have like a small part with like live animals. So
So some.
yeah, we do. Like well, this is just in the back rooms, but like they keep Komodo dragons in there and stuff too.
What is the value in seeing live animals?
I mean, entertainment? I don't really know. Like, if you can see them live, you might as well just watch them on a camera. Basically the same thing. It's not like you can touch it.
All right. Anybody think want to say anything of what there is about the value in seeing live animals? Anybody have a thought on that?
I was gonna say it kind of like builds on like excitement and adrenaline. I guess it kind of makes people wanting to come back and seeing what the animals do or anything like that. So I don't know if that would be something that they have advantage over.
I guess there is this idea that people will appreciate nature more, that people will appreciate animals more if they see them alive in their native habitat, so to speak, right? I mean, you all are totally right. At a certain point, it was not enough that we had museums. We had to have zoos in addition, right? And this was a huge attraction, right? Game parks, Felix says. Animals in their natural habitat. Okay.
I've actually, if someone could point out to me, I've never actually heard of game parks. So like, what is that?
Oh, you're in for a treat. Hang on, I have it right here.
Here, I can explain it because I don't think
Oh,
that
you explain, then I'll show a picture. Go ahead.
there's no one else in my house right now, so I think I can speak. Um, my family's from South Africa, and I went there one time to visit my family, and there are a multitude of game parks throughout Africa, but in South Africa, there's like probably the most, um, at least to my understanding. Game parks are basically like acres and acres and acres of land for animals to have complete free range. Like they are the reason that they are like it's tons of space. They have plenty of space to survive, but it is still closed. Like there are still borders because they're protecting these animals from like poachers, for example. And there are some game parks that are not nearly as good at protecting animals as others are. Like the Kruger National Park is not good at protecting their animals, and poachers get in there often. It's not good, but it's still very illegal. But the one that I went to was called Bakubang, and it's just like acres and like dozens of acres of land just for these animals, and like they've got like lions and leopards and rhinos and elephants and pretty much any kind of African animal that is native to that area. And you're obviously like safe when you do this, but you go in like these game trucks, and you like they're like campers sort of. They're like basically Jeeps in a way, and you go around, drive around dirt throughout the reserve and just watch animals natural thing. Like you look for them. It's not that they are already there for you to look at. You have to go out and look for them yourself. And all of them within the game reserve are like used to humans, so it's very unlikely that they'll try to attack you. there was one time where when I was at that game reserve, it had just gotten dark and we were driving back home to where like the lodges were, and there was this huge leopard just sitting in the middle of the road, and there were just a ton of like the campers like all around it, like, damn, none of us can like drive around this because there's a giant leopard in the road. And it was raining, and this leopard was just sitting there completely ignoring the fact that there were a bunch of campers around it just drinking out of a puddle. And I think about that a lot because it's just completely unbothered. um and so I like the concept of game parks way more in relation to zoos because they are not only in their natural habitat, and it's not just the fact that all of those animals are native to that area anyway, so the climate is perfect for them, but also they have way more space. They have way more space. They are actually like free range, and it's not you go like the animals are already there for you to see. You have to go out and see them. They're like when I went there were a multitude of animals that I didn't even get to see. Like I don't think I got to see the South African bison. Like I didn't see any. And I didn't actually see any elephants either, but they were there. Like you have to go out and look for them yourself.
Cool. Thank you, Felix.
I love
What-
game parks
What do y'all think about that?
because a lot of the like in that game park there were a lot of white rhinos and black rhinos, which black rhinos, it's either white rhinos or black rhinos. I'm pretty sure it's black rhinos, but black rhinos are they are like considerably rarer than white rhinos. Um they are endangered. They are a very endangered species, and so that's why they have the game reserve, because they don't want to just trap these animals, but they want to protect them because they want to protect the species, keep it
Good.
alive, and prevent hunters from killing them.
Sounds fabulous. My job, I'm hired to play devil's advocate. I can think of at least one drawback here. Anybody know what it is? Actually, Felix said it. Where are most zoos?
Not in the natural habitats of those animals.
Okay.
They're in cities.
They're most in cities. Why is that?
Because that's where the most people are.
Because of entertainment purposes,
Yeah.
attractions.
Or if there is an educational purpose here, the zoos are in the cities so that you have easy access. You pointed out, Felix, that there's not easy access, and when you go, you may not even necessarily see the animals.
Yeah.
I'm going to profess I'm agnostic about that. That's fine. I'm just saying, like, do you get the same educational value from the zoo if it is held in this way, right? Are kids from the burbs going to make it out to the game park? Are kids from the inner city going to make it out to the game park, right? Accessibility, someone mentioned that earlier, like that might be an issue.
No. However, not only in the modern day do we have access to an infinite amount of information online, so people can learn about these animals from probably websites that already exist, talking about these animals and watching videos about them. They can learn about them. But also, what is more important? Is it more important to take those animals out of their natural habitat and put them in enclosed spaces and put them in super anxiety inducing situations just so humans can learn about them? Is that what's more important? Is human comfort more important than animals surviving?
Good point, Felix. To which I would put this question, right? Because we're going to spend the rest of this course talking about conservation. You know, the thinking behind zoos is, at least the pedagogical thinking is that, again, that, you know, they want kids to interact with animals so they grow to appreciate them. Do you need that ready access for that kind of appreciation and that kind of respect?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if it's easy access, you don't appreciate it as much.
Oh, okay. Good.
I will say there is like probably a more applicable example because it's in the United States. Is I mentioned it briefly that there is a animal reserve in West Virginia that I've been to as well. Like they're still like somewhat enclosed spaces, but far more room. And there's no buildings. There's just like enclosed spaces with like quote borders, like multiple acres for different animals to live in. But all of those animals are native to West Virginia. So they are in their natural environment. They're not forced to, there's no need to have an extremely like high tech environment for them. They are already there. They have as much space as they need. And that animal reserve was actually not far from not only Helvetia, but also what's it called? Buchanan. Like it's in southern West Virginia, but it's close to two. Buchanan is definitely a bigger town, but it's like it's not that far. It's something that the people in that town, those towns can go to, even though it's not like near a city. It is still like accessible to an extent.
Good. Good. I mean, Ava asks the question that is pertinent here. Like, do you, for conservation efforts, like what do you need kids to do? What do you need kids to see? What do you need kids to access? Of course, think about it. If the goal is to try and get people to appreciate animals in their natural habitat, do zoos really do that, right? That was the point of that story. Like zoo going, like, no, these animals are bored out of their minds sitting in the middle of the Bronx. I'm going to show you something here, everybody. So this is a very traditional, enclosure in a zoo. This is the Antwerp Zoo in Belgium. I used to go to that as a kid. My dad is from Belgium. And the Antwerp Zoo is actually one of the first in the world. It's very old. It sits right next to the train station, middle of the city. And this is how the animals are kept. And this is, of course, a hotspot. Now, this is old. The Antwerp Zoo has reinvented itself because the consensus is that this is not humane, right? So what do? Well, there is the San Diego Zoo. The San Diego Zoo is probably the most famous in America, right? And it is kind of like a game park. It is open format. I've never been. It's outside the city. It's gigantic. I believe you have to take like a train to go through it, right? I'm kind of amazed that all these rhinos are hanging out next to the giraffes. I thought that might be trouble. Here is a concept for a new concept for a zoo. I was looking up some videos and I find that there was this design website, how to reimagine zoos. This might be right up your alley, y'all being designers, right? So this is one design. What's novel here is you have, the people, it's an open format and you walk through in glass enclosures or on top of a bridge. And so you're removed from the animals and you get to see them as they are and they get to live as they will. But there was another one here. See, this is another way of looking at it. And as opposed to having animals in cages, you walk through on walkways. Or you be underneath. Several aquariums are already reinventing themselves this way. And that looks pretty damn cool to me. And I think my kids would freak out if they had to see that. In any case, I'm amazed that giraffes and rhinos get along, yes. Ava, what do you mean? Like it might not be reform zoos.
I don't know. I think I'm not here to feel like a authority on what should be, like an authority on what should be done with this much land. But I think when it comes to like children, the idea that children need to see like live animals you know, in manufactured and paid for ways feels very stilted. And I just, yeah, I don't know. I think my like most, like on a personal note, my like fondest memories of nature are always just like seeing a deer on my neighborhood. The other night I stayed up so late, I heard foxes and I saw them walk on my sidewalk. I think that's, I don't know, that's a lot more memorable than all the times I've been to my local zoo. I don't know. I'm not sure, you know, the practical implications of that, but
Yeah, like I've been on hikes before and like seeing like a bear is like way more memorable than seeing it in a cage. It is way more memorable seeing it there and being like, "Oh shit, I better not fuck with that bear. It's gonna kill me." I'm in its habitat, not the other way around.
By the way, I mean, this related to what we were talking about a second ago, but if zoos are no longer necessary and we still want kids to have access to them, there is the interweb, right? 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 I mean, look what I got here. Bang, there's your naked mole rat. All right, I can just funnel this right into the classroom. God damn it, buffering. That will not do. See, at the zoo, it's not buffering, but then screw it. Let's look at the baboons. There we go. Let's all meditate on baboons. What the heck is he doing? But look, like this is natural habitat. Look at this, right? We have kids go in and see, look at the baboon in their natural habitat. And they're like, that's natural habitat? Like an acre with fake molded hills. So, you know, is this it? Is this enough? Is this enough to, damn, the mole rat's still not doing anything. Is this enough to spread or inspire the kind of, you know, a conservation appreciation that we hope? Maybe a better way is to think about what Felix and Ava are talking about, right? Ensure that people and kids have more access to these creatures. Of course, let's be honest. What's exciting about zoos are the extraordinary animals, right? I remember when I went to when I was in college, we did a semester abroad in Ireland, and a bunch of us went to the zoo, and they had an exhibit, wait for it, on squirrels. They had squirrels, and we were like, what the hell is the matter with you people? And the reason they had an exhibit on squirrels in Ireland is because they don't have squirrels. So they're like, wow, you know, could you imagine going to a zoo and they had an exhibit on deer, for example, or I don't know, mice? Actually, I like watching mice. Really, people want to see the panda. They want to see the elephant. And conservationists are going to tell you it's important that kids see these animals because these animals are endangered. But, you know, maybe technology has ensured that that kids can appreciate them from a distance. Show the kids those videos of the turtle eating watermelon. Is that really cute? Yeah. Okay, if you say so. I'm going to show you the cutest animal, actually, according to the New York Times. This is the cutest animal. I hope you're ready for this. Going to blow your mind, everybody. Let me just, here we go. The happiest animal on earth, the quokka. I don't even know this thing. Come on now, quokka. Let me check on the naked mole rats. God damn it. Looks like my quokka is not working. Yeah, animal videos are a big thing, right? Animal videos have really picked off. They're one of the most popular things on the internet now. People like to watch kitten videos, cat videos all day long. So, you know, I'm not getting my quokka. Oh, you know quokka. Okay, well, if you have a chance, there is a quokka cam, thanks to the country of Australia. These things are really quite adorable. Oh, here we go. I got one here. I'm going to switch it over so y'all can see this thing. I'd never heard of this thing until today. So instead of watching kitten videos, you can watch Quokka videos. Here he is. They're like miniature cuddly kangaroos. No, wait, where is it? I want to see it on the ground. They're pretty damn adorable. There we go. They're pretty damn adorable. So there's some live cams in Australia when you're feeling particularly stressed. Get on there. But we are out of time. But the topic that I also wanted to talk about, we don't really have time to talk about, is maybe I'll bring it up at a later point. Is I've been thinking a lot about how zoos compare to museums. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of time here at Micah talking about museums. Your art history faculty are going to talk a lot. They're going to take you to many. And I am wondering about how museums and zoos overlap. In museums, we talk about curating exhibits. What kind of curation, what kind of curating do they do in zoos? Would you even call it curating? What are your concerns? What are the concerns of the curator? What are the ethical concerns? We already got into some of that, right? But it is funny to think about how these displays are made and how these displays are offered. Good. Well, listen, everybody. We're over time, so I'm going to let you all go. Okay. I appreciate the conversation today. That was good. And now you have a whole list of live animal webcams that you can gorge on. Just keep going in the background. Keep your eye on those naked mole rats. Those guys are tricky. Okay. Don't let up on them. And that's it. So for today, you're going to hand in your papers later today. For next week, you'll read that Edward Wilson book you have, and you'll be doing some reading questions again for us. Okay. And that's about it. Okay. So try to have yourself a weekend coming up here. And I'm going to stick around if anybody wants to chat. All right. Oh, and please do that midterm quiz I showed you so we can get some feedback. All right. Have a great day, everybody, and a great weekend. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Hello.
Hello.
Mackenzie, you want to ask me something?
Have you gotten a chance to read my rough draft yet? I got your email this morning.
No, I have not. I've been busy, and it's due today, so you did not give me enough time.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Do you have any questions I can answer for you now?
Most of my questions are on the rough draft. I have it in front of me. That's so convenient. I really want to know how I can make it longer because it's really like 1.5 pages right now.
Do you have an outline?
Kind of, not really.
Outlines are the best because then I know what each paragraph is about in a thumbnail and I can tell you what you're missing. Can you email me an outline? Yeah, take 5 minutes, email me an outline and I'll respond and I'll tell you where you can expand and what you need to expand on. Is that okay? That's the best way I can respond on that issue. All right. Hey.
Hi, Farm. First of all, I'm sorry I came in late.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you now. Thanks for reminding me.
My alarm was silent for some reason, and I made sure my ringer was on. I'm not sure why that happened.
Yeah, I got you now.
But yeah, I'm sorry about that. And what is this midterm quiz I heard you talking about?
Oh, it is. It's not a graded quiz. It's just feedback from you all on the class to get online learning. It's under quizzes on Canvas. So
okay.
In our class, if you can do it, great. If you can't, not the end of the world. It's purely voluntary.
How long is it?
I think it's 5 questions.
Okay.
I didn't write it.
How late do you accept assignments in general?
You have all day today to get me the paper. I said that, like, you have till midnight. After tomorrow, the deduction is 1/3 of a letter grade.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to apologize because in advance, maybe I won't do very well in this class.
Oh. I mean, I don't think you're doing well so far. I mean, you're doing well in all the reading responses, and when you speak up, you know what's going on. Did you go to the writing studio? Did you get their help?
No, I'm very awkward around people I don't know, and I try, but the stress can like get in the way of actually learning anything. So I end up thinking it's like not worth it.
Well, I mean, listen, if you know, maybe you should talk to someone in our Learning Resource Center. You know, if you have certain challenges and you want to get, you know, because we can allow for extensions, but I just need this approved by them. You might want to talk to them.
I did apply for stuff from the Learning Resources Center. I have ADHD, so I've had a 504 plan.
Good.
But they said I sent some stuff like proof and like these doctors' papers and stuff, and they kept sending me back emails about like they couldn't, like it wasn't eligible, or like they don't have the 504 plan, or I'm not really sure what they were trying to say in the email.
You should talk to, is it Laura Birdsall? You should talk to Laura and see if Laura can get involved here. Maybe, you know, she's the advisor for the first year class. Maybe she can help.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to give you a heads up that like essays are my kryptonite.
Okay, do your best. It's been a few weeks, so I don't remember the details, but did you and I talk about an outline? Did you ever give me an outline?
It's hard to even write an outline. I don't know what I'm reading. It's hard to understand.
Well, you understand the materials we're reading in class. I can tell. You have to, I think you need to have some confidence in yourself, because from my vantage point, you understand it very well. And the reason I was hoping, you know, if I recommended an outline, the reason I recommended that is that way I could make sure that like you're covering all the topics you need to, you know, and if there's anything left out, I would point out. So I'm going to extend the same thing to you. I just extended to Mackenzie, which is if you want to get me an outline now or soon or whatever you can, it doesn't have to be a formal outline. Just give me a rundown of the paper and I'll tell you where you need to expand and where you need to add some stuff, or if you have enough. Just like I can do a little bit of coaching.
Okay. Okay.
But all I can say to you, Rachel, is I think you should be confident, because from all indications to me is you understand this stuff better than most. You really do. I've got no indication of you that you're not understanding the material. That hasn't come across once.